Hello and welcome to part 7 of our read aloud of Roald Dahl's The Witches. When we left off yesterday, the Grand High Witch had explained the recipe for making her Formula 86 delayed action mouse maker and was just saying that she had proof that it would work. Now, I am about to prove this recipe is working to perfection. You understand, of course, you can set the alarm clock to go off any time you like. Does not have to be 9 o'clock. So, yesterday, I am personally preparing a small quantity of the magic formula in order to give to you the public demonstration. But I am making one small change in the recipe. Before I am roasting the alarm clock, I am setting it to go off not at 9 o'clock the next morning, but at 3:30 the next afternoon. Which means 3:30 this afternoon. And that, she said, glancing at her watch, is in precisely 7 minutes' time. The audience of witches was listening intently, sensing that something dramatic was about to happen. So, what am I doing yesterday with this magic liquid? Asked the Grand High Witch. I will tell you what I am doing. I am putting one droplet of it into a very squishy chocolate bar. And I am giving this bar to a repulsive, smelly little boy who is hanging round the lobby of the hotel. The Grand High Witch paused. The audience remained silent, waiting for her to go on. I watched this repulsive little brute gobbling up the squishy bar of chocolate, and when he had finished, I says to him, "Was that good?" He says it was great, so I says to him, "Would you like some more?" And of course he says yes, so I says, "I will give you 6 more chocolate bars like that one, if you will meet me in the ballroom of this hotel at 3:25 tomorrow afternoon." 6 bars, cried this greedy little swine. I'll be there, you bet I'll be there. So the stage is set. The proof of the pudding is about to begin. Do not forget that before I am roasting the alarm clock yesterday, I am setting it for 3:30 today. It is now, she glanced again at her watch. It is now exactly 25 minutes past 3, and the nasty little stinker who will be turning into a mouse in 5 minutes' time should at this very moment be standing outside the doors. And by gum, she was absolutely right. The boy, whoever he might be, was already rattling the door handle and banging on the doors with his fist. "Quick!" shouted the Grand High Witch. "Put on your wigs, put on your gloves, put on your shoes." There was a great rustle and bustle of putting on wigs and gloves and shoes, and I saw the Grand High Witch herself reach for her face mask and put it on over that revolting face of hers. It was astonishing how that mask transformed her. All of a sudden she became once again a rather pretty young lady. "Let me in," came the boy's voice from behind the doors. "Where are those chocolate bars you promised me? I'm here to collect. Dish 'em out." "Ugh, he is not only smelly, he is also greedy." "Remove the chains from the doors. Let him come in." The extraordinary thing about her mask was that its lips moved quite naturally when she spoke. You really couldn't see it was a mask at all. One of the witches leapt to her feet and unfastened the chains. She opened the 2 huge doors. Then I heard her saying, "Why, hello, little man. How lovely to see you. You've come for your chocolate bars, have you not? They're all ready for you. Do come in." A small boy wearing a white t-shirt and gray shorts and gym shoes entered the room. I recognized him at once. He was called Bruno Jenkins, and he was staying in the hotel with his parents. I didn't care for him. He was one of those boys who's always eating something whenever you meet him. Meet him in the hotel lobby and he's stuffing sponge cake into his mouth. Pass him in the corridor and he's fishing potato crisps out of a bag by the fistful. Catch sight of him in the hotel garden and he's wolfing a dairy milk bar and has 2 more sticking out of his trouser pocket. What's more, Bruno never stopped boasting about how his father made more money than my father and that they owned 3 cars. But worse than that, yesterday morning I had found him kneeling on the flagstones of the hotel terrace with a magnifying glass in his hand. There was a column of ants marching across one of the stones, and Bruno Jenkins was focusing the sun through his magnifying glass, roasting the ants one by one. "I like watching 'em burn," he said. "That's horrible," I cried. "Stop doing it." "Let's see you stop me." At that point, I pushed him with all my might. He crashed sideways onto the flagstones, and his magnifying glass splintered into many pieces. He leapt up shrieking, My father's gonna get you for this. And then he had run off, presumably to find his wealthy dad. That was the last time I had seen Bruno Jenkins until now. I doubted very much that he was about to be turned into a mouse. Although, I must confess, I was secretly hoping it might happen. Either way, I didn't envy him being up there in front of all those witches. Darling boy, cooed the Grand High Witch from up on the platform. I have your chocolates all ready for you. Do come up here first and say hello to all these lovely ladies. Her voice was quite different now, like it was soft and gentle and absolutely dripping with syrup. Bruno was looking a bit bewildered, but he allowed himself to be led up onto the platform where he stood beside the Grand High Witch and said, Okay, where are my 6 bars of chocolate? I saw the witch who had let him in quietly putting the chain back on the door handles. Bruno didn't notice this. He was too busy asking for his chocolate. The time is now 1 minute before 3:30, announced the Grand High Witch back in her regular voice. What the heck's going on? Bruno asked. He wasn't frightened, but he wasn't looking exactly comfortable either. What is this? Give me my chocolate. 30 seconds to go, cried the Grand High Witch, gripping Bruno by the arm. Bruno shook himself clear and stared at her. She stared back at him, smiling with the lips of her mask. Every witch in the audience was staring at Bruno. 20 seconds, cried the Grand High Witch. Just give me the chocolate, shouted Bruno, becoming suddenly suspicious. Give me the chocolate and let me out of here. 15 seconds, cried the Grand High Witch. Will one of you crazy punks kindly tell me what this is all about? Shouted Bruno. 10, cried the Grand High Witch. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We have ignition. I could have sworn I heard an alarm clock ringing. I saw Bruno jump. He jumped as though someone had stuck a pin deep into his bottom, and he yelled, Ow! He jumped so high that he landed on a small table up there on the stage, and he started hopping about on top of this table, waving his arms and yelling his head off. Then suddenly he became silent. His whole body stiffened. The alarm has gone off. The mouse maker is beginning to work. The Grand High Witch started hopping about on the platform, clapping her gloved hands together, and she shouted out, This smelly brat, this filthy scum, this horrid little louse will very, very soon become a lovely little mouse. Bruno was getting smaller by the second. I could see him shrinking. His clothes were turning to fur that was growing all over his body. Suddenly he had a tail. Then he had whiskers. Now he had 4 feet. It was all happening so quickly. It was a matter of seconds only, and all at once, he wasn't there anymore. But a small brown mouse was running around on the tabletop. Bravo! Yelled the audience. She's done it again. It works. It's fantastic. It's colossal. It's the greatest yet. You're a miracle, oh brainy one. All the witches were standing up, clapping and cheering, and the Grand High Witch produced from a mousetrap from the folds of her dress and started to set it. Oh no, I thought. I don't want to see this. Bruno Jenkins may have been a bit of a stinker, but I'm dashed if I want to watch him having his head snapped off. Where is he? Snapped the Grand High Witch, searching the platform. Where has that mouse got off to? She couldn't find him. Clever Bruno must have jumped down off the table and scampered off into some corner or even down a small hole. Thank heavens for that. Bah! Matters not, shouted the Grand High Witch. Silence! Silence! Sit down! Shut up! The Grand High Witch stood on the very center of the platform, and those dangerous eyes of hers traveled slowly around the audience of witches who were still sitting so meekly before her. All those over 70, put up your hands. 7 or 8 hands went up in the air. It comes to me that you ancient ones will not be able to climb high trees in search of Gruntle's eggs. We won't, your grandness, we're afraid we won't, chanted the ancient ones. Nor will you be able to catch the crab cruncher who lives high up on rocky cliffs. I can't exactly see you sprinting after the speedy cat springer either, or diving into deep waters to spear the blabber nor striding the bleak moors with a gun under your arm to shoot the grobble squirt. You are too old and feeble for those things now.
We are, chanted the Ancient Ones. We are.
But you Ancient Ones have served me well over many years, and I do not wish to deny you the pleasure of bumping off a few thousand children each just because you have become old and feeble. I have therefore prepared personally, with my own hands, a limited quantity of delayed action mouse maker, which I will distribute to the Ancient Ones before you leave the hotel.
Oh, thank you, cried the old witches. You're far too good to us, your grandness. You're so kind and thoughtful.
I know. Here is a sample of what I am giving to you, shouted the Grand High Witch.
She fished around in a pocket of her dress and brought out a very small bottle. She held it up and shouted,
In this tiny bottle is 500 doses of mouse maker. Is enough to turn 500 children into mice.
I could see that the bottle was made out of dark blue glass, and it was very small, about the same size as ones that you can buy at a pharmacist with nose drops in them.
Each of you Ancient Ones will get 2 of these bottles.
Thank you, O most generous and thoughtful one, chorused the Ancient Witches. Not one drop will be wasted. Each of us will promise to squish and squelp and squiggle 1,000 children.
Great. Our meeting is over, announced the Grand High Witch. Here is the timetable for the remainder of your stay in this hotel. Right now, we must all go out onto the Sunshine Terrace and have tea with that ridiculous manager. Next, at 6 o'clock tonight, those witches who are too old to climb trees after Gruntle's eggs will report to my room to receive 2 bottles each of the mouse maker. My room number is 454. Do not forget it. Then, at 8 o'clock, all of you will assemble in the dining room for supper. We are the lovely ladies of the RSPCC, and they are setting up 2 long tables specially for us. But do not forget to put the cotton plugs up your noses. The dining room will be full of filthy little children, and without the nose plugs, the stink will be unbearable. Apart from that, remember to behave normally at all the times. Is everything clear? Any questions?
I have one question, your grandness, said a voice in the audience. What were to happen if one of the chocolates we are giving away in our shops gets eaten by a grown-up?
Well, then that's just too bad for the grown-up. The meeting is over. Out you go. Go.
The witches stood up and began gathering their things together. I was watching them through the crack in the screen, hoping to heaven they would hurry up and leave so that I might be safe at last.
Wait!
Shrieked one of the witches in the back row. Hold everything. Her shrieking voice echoed through the ballroom like a trumpet. All the witches suddenly stopped and turned and looked toward the speaker. She was one of the taller witches, and I could see her standing there with her head tilted back and her nose in the air, and she was sucking in great, long breaths of air through those curvy, pink, seashelly nostrils of hers.
Wait!
She shouted again. What is it? The others cried out. Dog's droppings. Just then, I got a whiff of dog's droppings. Oh, surely not. There couldn't be. Yes, shouted the first witch. There it is again. It's not strong, but it's there. I mean, it's here. It's definitely somewhere not too far away.
What's going on down there? Said the Grand High Witch, glaring down from the platform.
Mildred just got a whiff of dog's droppings, your grandness, someone called back to her.
Oh, what rubbish is this? She has dog's droppings on the brains. There are no children in this room.
Hang on, cried the witch called Mildred. Hang on, everybody. Just don't move. I'm getting it again. Her huge, curvy nose holes were waving in and out like a pair of fishtails. It's getting stronger. Hitting me harder now. Can't the rest of you smell it? All the noses of all the witches in that room went up in the air, and all the nostrils began to suck and sniff. She's right, cried another voice. She's absolutely right. Dog's dropping it is. Strong and foul. In a matter of seconds, the entire assembly of witches had taken up the dreaded cry of dog's droppings. Dog's droppings, they shouted. The room seems full of it. Pooh! Pooh! Why did we not smell it before? It stinks like a sewer. Some little swine must be hiding not so very far away from here.
Then find it, you idiots! Screamed the Grand High Witch. Track it down, root it out, follow your noses till you get it.
The hairs on my head were standing up like the bristles of a nail brush, and a cold sweat was breaking out all over me.
"Root it out, this small lump of dung!" screeched the Grand High Witch. "Don't let it escape! If it is here, it has observed the most secret of things. It must be exterminated immediately."
I remember thinking to myself, that's it. There's no escape for me now. Even if I make a run for it and manage to dodge the lot of them, I still won't get out because the doors are chained and locked. I'm finished. I'm done for. Oh, Grandmama, what are they going to do to me? Then I looked around and saw a hideous witch's face staring down at me. The face opened its mouth and yelled triumphantly, "It's here! It's behind the screen! Come help me get it!" The witch reached out a gloved hand and grabbed me by the hair, but I twisted free and jumped away. I ran. Oh, how I ran. The sheer terror of it all put wings on my feet. I flew around the outside of the great ballroom, and not one of them had a chance of catching me. As I came level with the doors, I paused and tried to open them, but the big chain was still on them and they didn't even rattle. The witches were not even bothering to chase me. They simply stood there in small groups, watching me, knowing for certain there was no way I could escape. Several of them were holding their noses with gloved fingers, and there were cries of, "Phew, what a stink! We can't stand this much longer."
"Catch it, then, you idiots!"
screamed the Grand High Witch from up on the platform.
"Spread out in a line across the room and close in on it and grab it. Corners this filthy little gumboy and seize it, and bring it up here to me."
The witches spread out just as they were told. They advanced towards me, some from one end, some from the other, and some came down the middle, between the rows of empty chairs. They were bound to get me now. They had me cornered. From sheer and absolute terror, I began to scream. "Help!" I screamed, turning my head towards the doors in the hope that somebody outside might hear me. "Help! Help! Somebody help!"
"Get it!" shouted the Grand High Witch. "Grab hold of it! Stop it yelling!"
They rushed at me then, and about 5 of them grabbed me by the arms and legs and lifted me clear off the ground. I went on screaming, but one of them clapped a gloved hand over my mouth, and that stopped me.
"Bring it here," shouted the Grand High Witch. "Bring the spying little worm up here to me."
That's where we're going to stop today. A very dramatic moment. Our narrator has been captured. The Grand High Witch is demanding that he be brought up to her. If you want to know what happens, you'll have to join us back for part 8 of The Witches. Bye.